This example looks incredibly scary, and that's because it's meant to be, because it's quite mathematically challenging. A boat sails off from a quay and from rest, heading in a direction 135 degrees measured from the positive x-axis. Has an acceleration of 0.01 meters per second squared. After t1 seconds, the boat steers so it's facing an angle of 60 degrees clockwise from the angle at which it is turning, with the axis at which it is turning, at a speed of 0.4 meters per second. Afterwards, it returns directly to shore by being perpendicular to the quay. So y is the displacement 0, find the value of t1, and find the distance travelled by the boat using the sine rule. Now, the sine rule I'm on about is sine big A over A equals sine big B over B, which is sine big C over C. So if you're not familiar with that, then you probably should get familiar with manipulating that formula. Otherwise, here is the solution coming in a couple seconds, so I'd advise you to try this first. So this is the diagram. I've split the 3 separate journeys, so when it's out to this point, when it turns, and when it returns to the quay. So 135 degrees out, which means that this angle here is 45. This angle here is 45 degrees because if it's split perpendicularly, the 2 angles here, this one big angle, must add up to 90. So the inner angle is 45. So that's that one. The 60 degrees is given to us in the question. The 75 comes from the sum of angles in a triangle, which should be fairly trivial at this point. So firstly, the displacement is 0 because it starts and ends in the same place. So it starts here and ends here, so the displacement for the whole journey is 0. So here's part 2 and part 3. Part 2 is a simple SUVAT. So v equals u plus at, 0.04 or 0.4 equals 0 plus 0.01 t, so t1 is 40 seconds. The third part, you can find S1 with a SUVAT as well. So you get S1 is 8 after you do that. And then you end up with this. So you can go about it using simple sines and cosines and Pythagoras and stuff. Alternatively, the question told you to use the sine rule, so using the sine rule. So the 8 corresponds to the 75, S3 corresponds to 60, and S2 corresponds at 45. So S2 is 5.86 meters after doing the calculations, and S3 is 7.17 after doing the calculations. So the distance travelled, therefore, is the 8 plus S2 plus S3, which is 21.03 meters overall. Now, this question is very, very tricky, so if you didn't get it, then it's totally fine. We're going to be moving on to a more practical example of 2-dimensional motion in the next video.